Yeah, go Big Suey, go Gamecocks, they all got game. Irish men win black eyes and shoes. Sparty USC and Bevo too. Aggies, Huskers, let's go down to TCU. To your city. And if you want a little bang, if you want a little zing in your zang zang, if you want a little tang in your tang tang, come along, come along, come along, come along. Yeah, we're coming to your city.
Hello, everybody. It is that time. Time once again for my college football picks. This is for the week of October the 27th. Lots of picks to talk about. Before we make my predictions between yours truly and the almighty Penny and go over last week's picks, time once again for a segment called Team of the Week and Disgrace of the Week. My nominees for Team of the Week for this past week of October 20th got to nominate the Oregon Ducks, whom last Thursday night just absolutely took apart Arizona State. Too much speed for Oregon. The Ducks continue a wonderful season. They're still undefeated. Another nomination, the Ohio State Buckeyes, who come from 8 points behind in the final minute to score a touchdown and then get the 2-point conversion to tie against Purdue, and then Ohio State eventually prevailing in overtime. The Buckeyes, again, aren't eligible for the Big Ten championship or to go to a bowl game. They're not eligible to appear in the BCS, but they have an opportunity to go undefeated in Urban Meyer's first year in Columbus. And got to give it up to the Duke Blue Devils. And no, we're not talking about basketball. Matter of fact, you might remember not too long ago I said that you should never lose to Duke in anything except for lacrosse or men's basketball. Well, evidently Duke's making me eat my words because the Blue Devils are now bowl eligible for the first time in nearly 20 years. Duke coming off a victory over in-state rival North Carolina. The Blue Devils are already at 6 wins. Duke, 6-2 on the season. My teams of the week. I went back and forth on this, and I could not decide. So instead of giving one team the team of the week, I'm going to have co-teams of the week, or teams of the week, if you may. Kansas State and Florida. They're going to win my award this week for teams of the week. Kansas State goes on the road into Morgantown and posts a big victory, looking good offensively and defensively. And Colin Klein right now, he's either going to be number 1 or number 2 on most Heisman Trophy voters' ballots. He's having a dream season. And the Florida Gators dismantling South Carolina. Florida remains undefeated, and Florida still has some hurdles left to go, a.k.a. this Saturday in the cocktail party against Georgia, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But Will Muschamp's defense there in Gainesville has done a terrific job. And Muschamp, in just his second year as head coach at Florida, has done big-time things. And the Florida Gators remain a national championship threat. I think a lot of people thought that they would beat South Carolina, but certainly not by the lopsided margin that they posted this past Saturday. So Florida, as well as Kansas State, my teams of the week. Now, let's go ahead and talk about my disgraces of the week, and we're going to keep this limited. Maybe it's because I'm in a good mood. I don't know. But I've only got 2 teams. I've got a nominee and an actual disgrace of the week. My nominee, the Washington Huskies. Remember a few weeks ago, they were looking real good. They just beat Stanford, knocked them from the ranks of the unbeatens. Well, this past week, Washington lays an absolute egg at Arizona, losing by 35 points. Who knew that at this stage of the season, that win against Stanford would be Washington's only conference victory? By the way, for the Huskies, looks like it's not going to get easier. You play undefeated Oregon State this Saturday. Ow. But my disgrace of the week goes to the West Virginia Mountaineers, and boy, were they overrated with the capital O. The offense stuck up the field. You give credit to Kansas State, but at home you thought West Virginia would certainly put a lot of points on the board. Not even close. And the defense continues to not know how to tackle, not know how to cover players. That might help if you're trying to win a ball game. But West Virginia, offense has struggled the last 2 weeks, and their defense has struggled the entire season, especially in Big 12 play. So West Virginia, they win my Disgrace of the Week award. Now, it is time for the picks. Well, I don't believe it. For the first time all season, I have a winning week. It took me all the way to late October to finally have a winning week. 8-5 against the spread. A documented 8-5 this past week against the spread. That's the good news. The not so good news is for the season, I'm at 30-48-1, but I guess it could be worse. And for most of the weeks on these predictions, it has been worse. The coin, by the way, also posted a winning week. It was at 7-6, a game worse than me. But the coin right now is laughing because it still has a double-digit lead against me. It's at 40-38-1 for the year. A 10-game lead against me. But we still have some weeks to go. I think there are 6 weeks left to go before it's all said and done. And I'm not going to give up, so you don't give up, all right? In the words of Jim Belvana. Now, let's go ahead and begin our picks. Of course, we always start with Big 12 action. By the way, for my pick on the Notre Dame at Oklahoma game, make sure to check out my weekly matchup show. It's on this very page. Big 12 action, huge game in Manhattan on Saturday. Undefeated and number 3 in the BCS, Kansas State will face another challenge. This time, it's the high-flying Texas Tech Red Raiders coming off their triple overtime win at TCU. I know Texas Tech's offense has been on fire, and Seth Dagey now all of a sudden is being mentioned in the Heisman Trophy conversation. Certainly if Texas Tech pulls off the upset, Dagey's stock continues to climb. But right now, Colin Klein and Kansas State, everything's going right for them. Some people thought after they've beaten Oklahoma that K-State might have a letdown at some point. Well, those pundits are still waiting for one, and it may not happen. Kansas State at home, defense is playing pretty good, and that triple option threat I think will be too much for Texas Tech. Give me K-State minus the 7. The coin lands on heads. It likes the favorite. Tails, it's going to go with the underdog. So let's give the coin a good flip, and the coin is going to go with Kansas State as well. Texas is at Kansas. I've got some bad news and good news for Kansas. First, the bad news. They're a 21-point underdog, and they haven't won a conference game in 2 years. The good news is who are we kidding? There is no good news for Kansas. They're going to get slaughtered at home. Give me Texas minus the 21, and the coin is going to go with Kansas. TCU is at Oklahoma State. Don't know what the situation is going to be quarterback-wise for the Cowboys because their backup quarterback, J.W. Walsh, injured against Iowa State in that win last week, and Wes Lunt hasn't played since September because of injury. They list Lunt right now as probable, but even if he doesn't play, Oklahoma State has a good enough running attack, and the defense coming off a good performance against Iowa State this past Saturday, plus home field advantage. I think Oklahoma State has enough to get by. TCU's defense has been very disappointing this year. Give me Oklahoma State minus the 7.5. The coin is going to go with Oklahoma State too. And then Baylor is at Iowa State. Of course, the Cyclones offensively this past week did not look good. However, the Cyclones defense, there's defenses out there worse in the Big 12 than Iowa State. Just ask West Virginia, Texas Tech, and of course, the Baylor Bears. Baylor's defense has been horrific all year long. You're playing in Ames, Iowa against an Iowa State team that wants to bounce back after that loss to Oklahoma State. I think Iowa State does just that. Give me the Cyclones minus the 2.5. Coin likes Baylor. Let's go to the SEC, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party in Jacksonville. It'll be Florida. It'll be Georgia. The Gators, again, undefeated. A 7-point favorite. I think defense will be the big word in Jacksonville for this one. The Gators will have too much of it against Aaron Murray and that Georgia offense. Give me Florida in a low-scoring game, minus the 7, and the coin is going to go with Georgia. Couple of undefeateds. Mississippi State, the Bulldogs at Alabama. Obviously, Mississippi State's biggest challenge all year long, playing the top-ranked and defending national champions, the Tide. Bama's going to win this game, but the question is, are they going to cover the spread? I say no. The spread's too much in this one. 24 points is a lot against a quality team like Mississippi State. So, Bama to win, but Mississippi State to cover. Give me the Bulldogs plus the 24. The coin is going to go with Alabama. Tennessee is at South Carolina. I know the Gamecocks got humiliated last week against the Gators, but the Derek Dooley watch is on in Tennessee. He's running out of time to try to do something impactful. It's not going to happen this week. Tennessee on the road, I don't see them covering those 14 points. So give me South Carolina minus the 14. and the coin is going to go with Tennessee. Duke is at Florida State. We mentioned earlier the Blue Devils. They're going to a bowl game. We know that much because they've reached the minimum 6-win plateau. Florida State, I think, wins this game, but Florida State didn't cover last week against Miami. I think 27.5 points is way too much. Florida State wins, but I think Duke will keep it within that 4-touchdown ratio. So give me Duke plus the 27.5. Coin is going to go with Florida State. Coin and I are now at a disagreement cycle. You have Michigan State at Wisconsin. Remember last year, these two teams played twice. Michigan State won on the Hail Mary, but Wisconsin got revenge in the Big Ten championship game. This matchup, not getting as much publicity because both teams haven't reached expectations. But at Camp Randall, Wisconsin's pretty darn tough. Take the home team. Give me Wisconsin -6, and the coin is going to go with Wisconsin as well. And then Ohio State is at Penn State. Both teams, just the opposite of Michigan State and Wisconsin. These teams have exceeded expectations, especially Bill O'Brien at Penn State, handling a tough situation and handling it very well, both him and his players. Ohio State, though, Braxton Miller, he should come back after getting hurt late in that game this past week against Purdue. Ohio State, I think, defensively will be too tough in this one. Plus, Braxton Miller, he'll be the X factor. He's a Heisman Trophy candidate. Give me Ohio State in a close one. Remember to pick him, so Ohio State straight up, and the coin is going to go with Penn State straight up. And then finally, we have Nebraska at home against Michigan. Last year, Nebraska got embarrassed against Denard Robinson and the Wolverines. Michigan, though, has not looked as good on offense as I thought they were going to this year. Michigan State, I know, is a good defense, but the Wolverines struggled offensively and needed a late field goal just to get past struggling Spartans team. In this case, I know Denard Robinson, you have to watch out for him as far as a threat to run the ball, but Nebraska, when it comes to run the ball, they're going to have more weapons, Martinez, Burkhead, and company. Plus, Nebraska hasn't forgotten about what happened last year. Give me the home team. Give me Nebraska minus the 2.5. The coin is going to go with Nebraska as well. So, those are my picks. What were your picks for the week? Just a reminder, late Saturday night or early Sunday morning, just depending on when that thing is going to end, probably about an hour after the Notre Dame-Oklahoma game, I will have my post-game show, my wrap-up of Oklahoma against Notre Dame. So check that out Saturday night, and check us out next week at this time when we'll have more college football picks. Thanks for watching.